kind of, I think our length has been pretty good, Cody. But
yeah,
if you guys are vibing, then
perfect.
Keep going.
Are you guys doing video or just audio? You guys are just clipping the audio.
We're one of doing both.
Okay.
What the plan is to be able to access it through, Spotify now does big time podcasts, Apple, whatever, but also we're going to link with Sam, because Sam Fink is in charge of a lot of this, and start a YouTube page as well. That way we can have this as well.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. So Tuesday, December 22nd, hailing from Hanover, Jamaica, the man, the myth, the legend, one of my all-time favorite teammates and people for that matter, Richard Dixon. Richard, how are you, man?
Cody, I'm good, man. I'm good. It's been a while. Thank you. Right. Thank you guys for having me. Good to see familiar faces, man. How are you guys?
What complaints could I have, man? If I had any, nobody would listen anyway. So
Cody just spent a couple weeks on the beach. He got married. I mean, life is good, man.
And good flow state, right? Get to hang.
I tell you what, man, you had me daydreaming here.
Oh man.
Hey, don't worry. Don't worry. I came back to snow, so.
Yeah, I've been staring out the window at a gloomy, rainy Pacific Northwest weather for the last weeks, month.
No, this is great, man. This is great that we're getting to catch up again, and Rich, can't thank you enough for hopping on, and we just want to kind of talk shared experiences that we've had as professionals. We want to talk about the mental side of the game, things that people from the outside looking in may not necessarily understand, and we want to provide a service for people that are looking for not just the surface level athletic side of things. We want to talk about, we want to get kind of, more in depth with the person behind the player. So, with that said, I'd like to kind of give you the floor, a little bit about yourself, career, whatever you feel is pertinent, and we'll have a great conversation.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, I just give a brief rundown of my career, and just pick up from college. Went to the University of West Florida down in Pensacola, the D2 school. Not a huge school, but really good D2 program. And from there, kind of obviously know that I wasn't going to get drafted, because at that time nobody got drafted from a D2 school, and so knew that it was going to take work and it was going to take dedication, and that's what I committed to at the moment, because I knew I wanted to pursue a professional career. And so did just that. Had a great career down there, and my first season as a pro was down in Tampa with an expansion team, VSI Tampa Bay FC. Kind of just went to a combine and did very well. The coach let me verbally commit to signing on the spot. So that was, at the moment, a really big accomplishment for me. Just hearing that, and so I committed, didn't really explore anything else. Went down to Tampa. The team folded after that first season. Then after that, went to Charlotte Eagles when they were in the USL Pro at that time. From Charlotte Eagles, 2 years in St. Louis, another expansion team, 15 and 16. And from St. Louis, another 2 years in OKC, which is where we played together, Cody. And after OKC, a year in Chattanooga with the Chattanooga Red Wolves, where I met Alex. And now I'm on the other side, Chattanooga Football Club. So long journey from the deep southeast to the Midwest and back to the southeast-ish.
Okay. Yeah. So you hit on a couple of things that are fantastic talking points. One, not a big school in the grand scheme of things, right? Not a major D1, right? Upwards trajectory. I'm going number one in the draft. A expansion franchise, which I think if you play long enough, right, everybody eventually has an experience with one of those, just because of the landscape of U.S. soccer and what it is, how it's continuing to grow. Talk to us about, the betting on yourself mentality when it comes to an open tryout.
Yeah, so that's a good point. At that time, I was in my senior year of college, and for many, going up to their senior year in college, especially guys that go to D1 schools, you have agents reaching out, and you know, you're hearing whispers of, getting invited to the MLS Combine, getting drafted, and all these things. And I had none of that. It was, hey, I'm about to finish my college career, and it's either I sign a professional contract or I go straight to the workforce. And for me, I had made a decision that I wanted to go pro way back, when I was 12 years old. And so I had always been working towards that, trying to learn as much as I could about the game and putting in the extra work and, playing with older guys, different teams and stuff. But this was the first time it kind of reality was about to hit, that, hey, it's either you sign a contract or you stop playing, because after college, there's nothing else, and so I had picked up a lot of injuries. My true senior year in college, I had picked up a lot of injuries. I had to redshirt. And so I had made a commitment that summer, going into now my senior year, that, I was going to get my body together. I was going to stop, all the things that weren't conducive to my playing career, taking care of my body, making sure that I'm eating the right things and stuff like that. And so I made that commitment, that summer I decided not to play PDL because I wanted to finish up school. And so I had nothing to worry about once I got out of college. So I ended up, going on like a 7-mile run every day for 4 months. I think I ended up running 500 miles that summer. And I can vaguely, vividly remember that summer. A lot of times, 6 a.m., I'm running down the street and people are looking at me, out the windows, like, this guy's crazy. Or, like, this guy's just running down the street every morning. And I think at that point was when I knew that I really wanted it, because I think before that, if I were to be doing that and, see people looking at me weird, I would kind of not get intimidated, but, you feel like, man, what am I doing? Like, this is silly. People are looking at me crazy. I probably should stop this. But no, I kept going. And so my redshirt senior year comes around, and, had a great season, got player of the year for the conference. And so that kind of gave me back some confidence, and fit again, sharp and everything. And so now I'm about to finish school and was doing my internship in the spring with the men's soccer team there. And the trial came up, the invite trial came up. And for me, I'd never gone to a trial before, besides, first day of open trial for certain teams, youth teams and stuff like that. I had never gone to like a combine for like a professional club or anything. And so for me, the mindset was just leave no room for error. It's make sure that you leave no stone unturned, make sure you go in as fit as you can, as sharp as you can. So for like 2 months, I trained twice a day, every single day for 2 months. One morning was, in the morning was, my fitness and running and gym work. And in the afternoon was my ball work and stuff. And 90% of the time it was by myself. It was waking up 6 a.m., going to do all that stuff by myself, and going out, switching on the lights after classes and everything like that, to go on the field to get my ball work. And then, I don't know, it's just a lot of positive self-taught. That's what really got me through it. Just, I remember at times, man, I was making up these imaginary scenarios in my head. I'm setting up guys on the line. I'm going to take him on, beat him, whip it in, and, just kind of recreating the game that I would want to play. And so I did that for 2 months, and lo and behold, went down to the combine 2 days. And I mean, I just remember just flying, man. Guys were coming up like, man, like, how long you been playing? You didn't take a break, because I was so fit. I was the fittest guy in the combine. I was the sharpest. It's like I had been playing with these guys, for many years and many seasons. And before the combine even ended, the the coach came over and, you know, told me, hey, man, you're the best player out here for the, you know, all weekend. And I want you to promise me something. I want you to promise me that you're not going to talk to any other team. We're going to send you a contract on Monday. And this is on the Sunday. So he said, we're going to send you a contract on Monday. And I want you to come here and be the right back. And I was like, I mean, yeah, I'll take it. I won't talk to anybody else, you know.
Scout's honor. I promise.
Yeah. So that's kind of how my first you know, experience of you know, becoming a pro, and my first initial experience of you know, going to a professional combine, man. It was just, I didn't know what to expect, and so I didn't want to leave any room for error, and you know, when it's over, say, man, I wish I had trained harder, or I wish I had put in the extra work. So I did just that, and it worked out perfectly.
And I think, I mean, knowing you, Rich, that's resonated throughout your career. I mean, that experience, I can see how that's shaped you, and you know, seeing the success that your lead into that trial you know, brought, that's got to validate a lot within yourself, that you're doing the right things. So, you know, I mean, you're one of the most professional guys I've been around, you know, in the locker room, doing your activation and work needed outside of what's just within the scope of what we do as a group. And, you know, it's pretty obvious that that's carried over. So, you know, I think there's something to be said about finding that within yourself. And I mean, not having to be told that that's how you need to be successful. And if you can find success on your own, I think that just goes and validates it and raises that confidence even more to grow within the game and yourself.
Yeah. And I gotta piggyback off that. This is let's compliment Rich, but it's the absolute truth, man. You all I hear when I hear you speak, I'm getting amped up right now listening to this, because Alex is right. It's like you and we were roommates, and I saw it on the daily. And you're a man. Your personal sovereignty is what comes to mind, right? You live your life by a code, right? There is with you. If I can encapsulate you to somebody else who doesn't know you, it's like there is no such thing when it comes to Rich as inactivity leads to insecurity. You are the opposite of that, right? You are somebody that I look at, I know Alex looks at as well. There is no secret as to why you've been a pro and had this for as long as you have, and been able to have the impact both on and off the field as you have, because of everything that you said. You know your opportunity is coming. You don't know what the opportunity is going to look like or when it's going to present itself, but you're not going to have the I wish or I could have or I should have. You
Right.
are making certain that your best foot forward is going to show, right? You are going to put yourself in the best possible light to have success. And that comes down to personal responsibility, right? You're not waiting, hoping, wishing, you're making it happen. And I love that.
Yeah. And I think obviously, you know, a lot of it has to do with, you know, my background and stuff like that, you know, growing up in Jamaica and having to always figure things out. But I think, you know, once I came here, and then, you know, you see, you know, guys getting drafted, you know, and guys, you see young guys going into academies and they're getting all these opportunity, and then you look at yourself, you know, and I think for a lot of guys, I go to 18-year-old Rich, and I would have loved to be in an opportunity like that, you know, to be at a D1 school and doing, all I had to do was just do well, and the opportunities will come. Or, you know, to be a youngster and in an academy and you do well and you move up the ranks. But I didn't have that. And that's one thing that I'm glad that I kind of did when I was young. I sat back, just kind of took the back seat, and I looked at where I was. I looked at where I wanted to go. And then I kind of formulated a plan of what I needed to do to bridge that gap. So basically I just created a vehicle that's going to get me to where I wanted to go. And going pro from a D2 school back then, it was never really unheard of. There was a few guys, sprinting around the country, and so I knew it was difficult, and I knew that if I really wanted to do this, I had to be if I went on a trial, I had to be the best guy there. If I went in a preseason, I had to be the best guy there, and I know that that would give me a chance at least, right? And there was no excuses, and I remember at times I was training, man, and old teammates, that had finished their senior year and decided that, that's it for them, would ask me, hey, what's going on, man? Like, why are you training so hard? And, like, why are you still training? I'm like, I have to be ready, like I have to be ready for when the opportunity comes, because I don't want somebody to give me an opportunity and then I have to take 2 months to get ready. Like,
Right.
It's kind of that be ready so you don't have to get ready kind of mentality that I took.
That's a Floyd Mayweather quote.
Right.
So you don't have to get ready. But
yeah.
That again, I'm amped up. I'm ready to. You've given me my daily dose of caffeine here to go run through the brick wall, because again, I know people are going to listen to this and it's going to resonate, because most of us that have made a career at this level, we have similarities. We have the open tryout story, right? We didn't necessarily come from a big school. And at that time, I think it's important to hit on, there weren't 30 plus USL franchises. There weren't 2 different divisions of the USL. There wasn't
12. There was 12 teams and 1 big league.
Bingo, exactly. So you talk about opportunity, right? The margins, that kind of split, the ones who do make it and the ones that don't make it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hate to sound like the old guy yelling at the cloud, but back in our day,
back in my day,
right. It wasn't necessarily the same. So things that you value, right? The hard work aspect, I'm going to set myself above. I'm going to go above and beyond just what is asked of me. I'm going to do the extra, right? I'm not saying that it's not there today, but there is something to be said about having that personal, giving yourself that personal responsibility to achieve.
Yeah. And just to touch on that a little bit, and, maybe this is like a tip for, young guys, whether it's, a young pro in his first year or a guy that's a senior looking to go pro. It's like, for me, I don't consider myself to be a special case, right? Because at the end of the day, there's, when you look at the American system and you look at the college system, there's good players, man. Every year, there's really good players that come out. Some go to the MLS, some come USL, some go overseas, and so on and so forth. And so, I think that's something that players need to come to the reality of, is that even though you're at a certain school and you're doing well and you're talented and everything like that, no, when you go to the professional level, the talent only gets you so far. You still have to break, the work has to match the talent, in order to propel you a little bit higher. And so, it's when you're working, you got to think that there's at least 1,000 players out there that are going to compete for that same spot on that same team at that same position that you are going to go on a trial for, or that, that you're thinking of taking. And so, that's kind of the mentality that I took, and that's the way I stayed motivated was, I don't want to leave any excuses, so I'm going to train my hardest. I'm going to educate myself on nutrition. I'm going to talk to different people in different fields of strength and conditioning. And, I'm going to try to reach out to guys that I know that have gone pro and kind of get their, some tips and advice from them, that I can help to elevate my game even a little bit, and I think once you start to get a little bit of nuggets, from different guys, maybe you talk to one guy and he says, man, you need to stop going out as much. You need to go to bed early, because that's the way your body repairs itself, was when you're sleeping. And you talk to another person and he says, you need to eat cleaner foods because your body processes it easier and your body's more efficient. And you get all these little nuggets, and by the time you're doing all these little things, and they transform your whole body, and your whole game. And so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge too, because I mean, advice that someone's giving isn't always going to work for you. You know, someone may be preaching and, you know, maybe it doesn't totally resonate, but there are bits and pieces you can take from it. And I think just having the wherewithal to be open and, you know, understanding that, okay, you know, I can adapt this in different ways that work for me. And if you try them and they don't work, then you know, okay, that's not for me. But it's about being willing to do so and trying to set yourself up so that you're constantly changing and evolving, you know, in the right direction,
Right.
and trending upward at that point.
Well,
I
yeah,
kind of
man.
want to
Go ahead.
no. I guess I kind of want to bridge into, you know, something a little different that got me thinking when you were talking about how your work and your drive into that first trial kind of shaped your career and brought you success. Take us to a time when, you know, maybe the opportunities weren't coming your way, or you weren't seeing, you know, the day in day out positives or the success and things coming your way. Did that change the way you worked? Did that change the way you approached things? Did you stay the course? What was kind of your approach going to it?
Yeah, I think for me, the way that I always approach things is, I think once you kind of know the game that you're playing, you know, say for instance, you know, my first year in VSI, team folds, right? And so we're going from, you know, when the USL was a 6-month season, we started in March and ended in like August, I believe. And so, you know, we start, season goes along, rookie year, and I had a decent year. Played, I believe, 18 out of at that time it was like 26 games or 24 games. And so I had a decent season. And at that time, obviously, I was young and naive, and I'm thinking, okay, good season. You know, next team is gonna come calling, so on and so forth. And nothing happened. You know, nothing happened. Obviously, at that time, the league wasn't as big, and so now we have a lot of veterans still in the league. And when it's time to come, you know, players are just moving around, and so nothing happened. And I'm going into a 6-month off season. You know, and for me, I think that was kind of the toughest time for me, like having to overcome mentally. And it's because I had to train by myself, you know, for that long, and having to deal with the uncertainty of if I'm gonna keep playing, or you know, when is this next opportunity gonna come, or you know, you're 4 or 5 months in, it's like nothing is happening. You're not, at that time I didn't have an agent. I didn't even know how to you know, communicate with teams or reach out to GMs and things like that. So trying to figure out all those things by myself, I think that was kind of the most challenging time. But I don't know, it's just something kept saying, you know, just keep something is gonna come along, you know, just keep preparing, keep getting ready. And I think just having that positive self-talk, you know, just keep talking myself up and keep still believing in the purpose and in the dream. That's what kept me going. And waking up every day, just going to train, not even knowing what you're going to train for, right? Like at this time, I'm not going to train for an open trial. I'm not going to train for a combine or for an invite. I'm just training just to train, you know. And when you do that long enough, now I'm 5 months in with nothing, no contracts, nobody reaching out. That's when it mentally it becomes tough, man. You know, at this time I'm in South Florida with aunts and cousins and stuff, sleeping on couches and you know, bouncing around house to house and everything. And just having, I guess, a good circle of people, you know, that also believe in your dream and believe in your abilities and wanting you to succeed. I believe that that is important as well. And you know, I had that. My family, they always enjoy my football, and they always come and watch, and they're always rooting me on. And I think spending that long period with them, you know, and going out training. I mean, remember at times, if I were to sleep in the odd time, my aunt would come wake me up, you know, or my cousin, hey, what's going on this morning? You're not training? And I could have said no, you know, but just the fact that she came and checked on me, it's like, you're not doing something that you should be doing, you know? And so, all right, yeah, I slept in and go train. And so, yeah, it's, I think those are the toughest times, is the uncertainty, you know, the uncertainty of your future and your career, and having a good circle of people around you and still having that internal drive and that belief. I think that's what got me through it.
And I think that's something that, you know, I know all of us can resonate with. I mean, I went through 4 cities in 5 years, or I've lived in 4 cities in the last 5 years, playing for 4 different clubs. And, you know, the 1-year contract is it makes for a stressful off season every single year. And there are times, multiple times throughout those months, when that doubt creeps in of, you know, is this going to keep going? Like, how much longer can I continue to do this? And it can wear on you. I mean, there were days when I didn't want to get out of bed and go train. Like, I just kind of wanted to lay there and, you know, sit in my own self-pity. But I think having those people around you that can keep you going, and tuning out the people that question why you're continuing to do this, and put yourself through this. I think that's it's a skill set that carries beyond, you know, just doing what we do and playing football.
Yeah, I definitely agree, man. You know, one key point that you touched on there was tuning out the noise, you know, and I think for that I think that's something that I'm kind of glad that I was cognizant of earlier on in my career, you know, is just knowing that there's going to be people that are going to root for you, and there's going to be people that are going to root against you. And that's just natural. That's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because that's life. You know, you always have a for and against in everything in life. And I think, I personally think that in order to have balance, you know, you need that. You need some people to be against you. You need some people to be for you, because if everybody's for you, you never know what you're doing wrong and what you can improve on things. So I think that's a key point, is tuning out the noise, man. Because the moment that you get caught into that the moment that negative thought, whether it's in your mind or, you know, whether it's a circle of people that you're hanging out with, or that's influenced you, the moment that negative talk or that negative thought gets traction, I mean, that's it. You know, it's very hard, man. It's very hard to build, you know, to build confidence and to build that you know, positive self-thought and that consistency. But it's very easy to destroy. You know, all it takes is somebody to tell you that you can't, and now you go home and you're thinking about that all day, you know, and next thing you know, 2 weeks goes by and you haven't done anything to improve yourself, you know. And so just tuning out that outside voice that you know that it's not going to help you, and don't give it any mental energy and so on. I think that is huge for anybody, you know, in any field, not just football.
The mental fortitude aspect is something I think we all share. And I think it's also important to know that none of us are bulletproof. We've all just kind of, and I'm with you in terms of, you know, you go through the peaks and the valleys, and sometimes you wake up and it's like, I'm not feeling it, you know. And again, the reoccurring theme is you're working at this, right? You're working at tuning out the negativity, tuning out the questions of people, questions from people who are wondering, why are you doing this? You know, what's the end goal here? Is there an end goal? Have you thought? But I keep coming back to here. All I'm hearing is that this is a work in progress, right? It's not like we were just miraculously born with this bulletproof mentality. It's something that we all struggle with. you know, at different points of our career. And some of us, me personally, I've gone through long stretches of cloudiness, right? Mental fog, you know, but then realizing that, okay, are there things in my life, in my day to day that I can push away? Am I giving those things too much thought that really aren't helping me kind of get to where I want to be, both, you know, mentally, spiritually, physically, professionally,
Mm-hmm.
kind of tuning those things out and giving energy to the things that will help push forward and ultimately get you to the place where you can achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah. I think that's huge, man. When you look at the nature of you know, I will say just football in America in general. You know, it's you know, I would refer to it as like a rotating door. You know, it's players in, players out, and so one of the biggest thing that, you know, you touched on there as well, Alex, is having those 1-year contracts and going city to city to city. And I think for us, you know, players in lower division soccer, man, that's one of the most difficult things to deal with mentally is, you know, you go to one city, and especially when you're a person that, you know, you have certain values and certain things that you really want to give. And you like, for me, I value relationships. You know, Cody knows more than anybody else. You know, like, I really value the relationships and just going out there and just loving on people, man. And it's very hard to do that when you're only you know, when you're 1 year here, and then the year ends and you find out that it's out of your control, right? But you have to leave. And so now what happened to all those relationships that you've built over the year? You know, you still, obviously with technology, you know, you can text, call your friends on social media, so, but it's obviously not the same, you know, and some of those kind of fade out after a while. And so I think that, especially with the nature of, you know, lower division football in America, that's one of the toughest things that I personally have had to deal with as a pro is, you know, you go to a team and you go into the community and you're doing certain things, you know, you're making relationships and you're giving your time, you know, because I think that's the most valuable thing that you can give anybody is your time and your words, conversations, and your mental energy and your emotions and stuff like that. And so you invest. And then when it comes to the end of the year, obviously you want to stay and you want to continue and you want to keep building. But then you find out that you have to go, and it's not up to you. You know, it's up to somebody else. And that's that one particularly is very tough to get over, because a lot of times you know, you kind of leave without even saying bye to people, and just having to separate now mentally and emotionally from certain families or individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you end up in another situation where you have to rebuild that over and over again. And then the next year, you're constantly rebuilding, you're constantly reinvesting. You know, it's like you're picking a root in the tree up, you know, you're taking it somewhere, planting and hoping that the roots catch again. And so that one is you know, it's tough to get over. And for me, you know, I've maintained a lot of my relationships, you know, some more closely than others. You know, there's families that I've worked with 6-7 years ago, you know, that I still talk to on the phone. You know, we text every now and then. Um, Most of my families and friends and stuff that I've made, you know, we're still on social media, keeping track of one another, but it's not the same as being there, you know, and going out in the community and working with these kids, you know, are taking a family to dinner,
Mm-hmm.
and different things like that. And so, yeah, I'm actually interested to see how you guys deal with that. You know, Alex, you know, particularly, and you as well, Cody. Obviously, you have had more stability, so it's a bit easier for you. But how have you guys dealt with that part of it?
Well, I think the stability is a big thing. You know, it's, you want to feel comfortable. You want to feel like you have a little bit of that stability, job security, which
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it's the nature of this business. Any professional sports industry, you know, any sport, any league, job security is probably one of the lowest things that you have. You know, the percentages are so low. But I think, you know, looking at you know, our leagues in as a whole, it, not to get too technical, but it kind of becomes systematic because it's 1-year contracts left and right. Players, you know, that's the majority of what players are on. And I think if you know, give long-term contracts from the beginning a little bit, whether it's 2-3 years, it helps someone become invested in what they're doing, where they are. You know, it gives them a little bit of confidence that, okay, maybe this year didn't go so well on the field, but I've got another year and I can build on it and improve. From a relationship standpoint, it makes you realize, okay, I'm going to be here for a couple of years, you know, 2-3 years. So, you know, let's make this home, rather than becoming closed off, and saying, okay, I'm here for the duration of a 9-month season. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. So why invest in this place outside of what I'm doing on the field? And I see that a lot. But personally, I think that, you know, you and I are really similar in that aspect, Rich. You know, I'm a relationship guy. I value time with people. And I think that, you know, that's something that is hard to replace for me. So, I mean, even if I've been somewhere for a year, I've tried to make it my home as quickly as possible. And it's definitely been easier some places versus others. And I think a huge part of that is like the people you end up connecting with. But you're right. I mean, it's hard to go at the end of the year, and you know, it's hard to keep those relationships intact. But I think you get the most out of your experience if you're willing to be open to, you know, trying to enjoy a new place, even if you're going into it not thinking you will.
Right.
Yeah, man. Like I can, if I could for a second, I mean, I saw it firsthand with Rich here. Talk about getting immersed into the community.
Yeah.
You know, we have a program with the Energy called Energy Sidekicks, and he did not misspeak one word when he talked about spending time, going to dinner, you know, getting into the community, developing those relationships. And I think we all agree on this. I think clubs should take note of that when it comes to, you know, from a selfish standpoint, brand building with whatever team. If you have a player that, and obviously first and foremost, the play on the field dictates a lot of it. So you have to kind of be consistent
Right.
with your play. But if you have somebody who in their downtime, you know, and no disrespect to people that play video games, but isn't going to go home, isn't going to leave the training ground and then go play video games for the next 8 hours and then just do it all over again. But somebody who is willing to develop a relationship with a family in the community, or willing to coach, willing to kind of pay it forward, if you will, to whatever market that you're in. Clubs are well suited to seek those individuals out and reward them with some sense of stability, because it will only come back to the club when you have a Richard Dixon in your community who is out there X amount of hours per week, paying it forward, teaching what he knows on the pitch, on the field, to the next generation. On top of that, spending his time, what you cannot get back in this life, to develop relationships in those communities. I think you're a shining example of that. And I think that's something that I hope more and more clubs kind of view it through that lens of, hey, players aren't as, you know, recyclable, if you will, for lack of a better term. And when we have a good one, we need to hold on to one.
Yeah. And I think the reason why I asked that as well is because, you know, for a lot of the reasons you just said, Cody, and for me, and obviously, you know, I kind of got better and more comfortable the longer my career prolonged. And so when I was in Tampa, you know, with all the football experiences and living and stuff like that, we can touch on that later if we want. But that was a 1-year contract with an option, right? And then my option kind of got held. You know, they didn't tell everybody they were gonna fold, so option got held last minute. Hey, we're not gonna, we're gonna cease operations. So from there, went on to Charlotte Eagles and then Charlotte Eagles, decided that they were gonna sell the pro franchise and go to the PDL. And so those first 2 years, it was kind of, I didn't have control and the club didn't have control either. But I think where it kind of affected me the most was when I went to St. Louis. Right. And, I had signed a 2-year deal and I was there for 2 years. And it was, at that time that my career was starting to take off, so to speak. I'm playing really good football, getting called up to the national team and stuff like that. But at the same time, I know, like Alex said, it's that sense of security. I know that I'm going to be there for 2 years. And so therefore, I can now kind of open up, a bit more, and I can invest into the community, and I can, have close relationships with the fans and get to know families and stuff like that, which is exactly what I did. And so I did that for the 2 years, got really close, and I still to this day have, some great friends, that send me gifts all the time. We exchange gifts and everything like that. And then it comes down to now my contract ends, and we're talking about options, and I find out that, okay, option is not going to be picked up, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, because at that time I had now gotten to know the game a bit, and I know that, hey, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. That's the way the machine works. But there was just that thing knowing that, man, that sucks, like I have to leave, and all these relationships that I've built is gonna fade away. Mm-hmm. And so I think I really struggled with for the first time when I left St. Louis in 2016. And then again, when I left OKC in 2018, obviously had come and we had a great year the first year, re-signed, and having to leave after that second season. Man, I struggled with that, and because at that time I had gotten really, really into the community. I had met some, some amazing people. I was coaching a lot. I was always with my sidekick doing things. I was really, really into the community, and I really enjoyed my time there. And when it came down to it, it's like, hey, man, again, you gotta go. And it's like, well, man, that sucks, And so those two moments was when I really struggled the most with it. But again, I'm still growing in my career, and I know that's how they get the game work and stuff like that. But I think if you're a person that you experience these things early, when you're at a VSI or a Charlotte Eagles and you experience these things, guys might struggle a bit more, because they don't know that this is how the game works, and this is how the USL or League One or NISA works, is that it's just like you're recycling players all the time. And so I was just curious, which is why I asked that, because I think especially in this business, man, relationships are such a huge commodity, and relationships is what keeps these things going,
Right. Why we're proof positive why we're here right now.
Exactly. Yeah. We keep these conversations going, and whenever a guy's out of a contract, he can reach out to a teammate and say, hey, can you connect me with this people, and this GM or whatever. And so I think it's important, man, for players to know that to get you through things mentally, also, like whether it's relationship with your teammates or relationship with the community or relationships, is just invest, just give yourself, man. And that's huge.
And then I got to hit on this. The nature and what the business that we're in of professional soccer, how small of a circle it is, right? So do we don't burn too many bridges. We all have our own, don't want to sound dramatic, but horror stories in terms of, shouldn't have treated me like this, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important for people to hear as well, that, listen, you're going to, right, wrong, or indifferent, you're going to be treated in a way, from time to time that you may not think is acceptable, or, your ego takes over, and how could they do this to me? Mm-hmm. It's important not to act or say anything or do anything out of emotion. because it's one phone call. It's a game of opinions. It's a business of opinions a lot of times as well. And that's an important aspect to hit on, is that you cannot burn bridges in this industry. You can forgive but not forget. You can keep that in mind and not be vindictive. I'm not saying to be vindictive, but it's important to not go on the scorched earth tour, as they say, and kind of ostracize yourself from any future employment opportunities.
There's one thing I want to touch on. You guys let me know how you are on time. I think, since we're talking about, mentality and mental health, because I think it's a huge thing, and especially the time that we're in, that the world is in currently, the 22nd of December, 2020, we all know how the rest of the year went. I think now more than ever, people are struggling, man. I've had a few teammates on my team that came to me this year and said, like, Rich, I'm struggling, man. Like I need to talk, let's go have a coffee. And so I think it's important for players, coaches, whoever, to have conversations, man.
Yep.
Talk to somebody, because it's when you bottle things in for long enough and you keep adding and you keep adding, that pressure cooker, eventually it will blow, and when it blows, you could end up saying or doing things that are outside of your, your intentions. And so that's one thing that I want to say to players is just talk to somebody, whether it's a family member, whether it's a teammate, whether it's a coach. I wish that we were at a level, or clubs saw it beneficial to where we could have a psychology, on board, just like we have a head coach and a goalkeeper coach and a strength and conditioning guy, to have a sports psychology on board, because I think that is a huge tool, especially in this day and age. And so I'll just give a brief story why I brought that up. I remember in 2015 when I was kind of, on the rise. I was on the, my career was going up, playing well when I just went to St. Louis, and I got called up, to the national team, Copa America, and Gold Cup in the same summer. And for me, it's like, man, when you talk about feeling confidence and feeling like everything is coming together, it's finally coming together, and all that hard work, all that sacrifice is about to pay off. And then boom, just like that, busted in my knee, Open Cup against Minnesota, busted my knee, and I missed the rest of the season. And for me, that moment was probably the most difficult moment of my professional career, because at that time I thought this is it, I'm done playing, my career is over. And for the rest of that year, especially for the first 4 months that I had to do rehab and therapy and stuff like that, that was crucial, because I had the people around me, to kind of give me a trampoline, so to speak, to keep jumping to the next level. I had a great therapist. I had a great trainer that kind of played as my psychologist, that I would talk to about things. Like there was times I felt like I just, this is it. I'm just gonna hang him up and I'm gonna just go back to Jamaica or go back to Florida, and just hit the workforce. And having those people to have those conversations with, I think that is what saved me, and always referring back to that internal motivation, like, man, if I could do that well to, get to that level, I could do it again. I just need to get over this and just keep pushing forward. And I think that's important, man. If players can just talk, because I know a lot of players hold it in, and next thing you know, 2 months down the road, you see them explode, saying some ridiculous things or doing some ridiculous things, and or just keep holding it in and going through depression and things like that. And so if I could give one advice about that, is just talk to somebody, just somebody that you're confident in.
Of course. Yeah, we're not.
And
go on, Alex.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, that's how this project came up, Rich. I've had some teammates come to me and and just really open up about, different things, whether it's been their mental health, things that are going on in their lives, all mostly related to mental health and depression, anxiety, things they're experiencing. I think that opened my eyes to see, like, and start thinking, okay, how can we help guys that maybe aren't just coming out of the blue to speak to someone. And I think having those relationships and to being close with people is big, because it makes you feel comfortable in maybe taking a risk and putting yourself out there. But also, like, part of the reason Cody and I wanted to start these conversations is because we want guys to know that, look, you're not the only one going through this kind of stuff. It's okay to reach out to a friend, reach out to, even if it's one of us and we've never talked, but you're listening to this and you think, hey, I think I need to at least put myself out there. Go for it. We're here. And it's more than just a player thing. It's more than just, about what we do on the field. At the end of the day, it's a human thing. We're human beings going through, human experiences, and it's a huge part of it. And I think it's something that, like, you have to be willing to check in on yourself, and it's hard, but that's how you help.
Absolutely. Again, reiterating the fact that none of us are mentally bulletproof.
Mm-hmm.
We all of these experiences that we go through, positive and negative, can paying it forward, paying it to the next generation, explaining that, listen, this concept of this robotic concept of I'm just a footballer and I don't have bad days. There are no bad days. Well, no, be honest. There are bad days, right? You just you try to position yourself to make sure you have more good days than bad. A lot of that comes down to, like, this conversation has just been full of the personal sovereignty, the willingness to take it upon yourself to do more than just the minimum, right? To put you in a give you an opportunity to succeed. And then even when, because we all have personal success stories. It's why we are here and what we're doing. But it does not mean that it's just been a meteoric rise. There has been the peaks and the valleys and the peaks and the valleys. And the idea is to not get too high when things are going great, and not get too low when things seem stacked against you and you're never going to get out of this funk, right? And I think that is the overriding thought behind not only this, but a collective mindset, is that how can we help? How can we be vulnerable in a sense that, hey, listen, I don't have it all figured out. You don't have it all figured out. Alex doesn't have it all figured out, but we can help, and we can help not only ourselves, but we can help ultimately, which is the best, helping others. So again, man, this has been a fantastic conversation. I know we are a little pressed for time, but look, Rich, is there anything that you want to plug? How can people get a hold of you? Are you able to speak? If people are going to reach out, please let us know. Let everybody know.
Yeah, absolutely. People want to reach out, my Instagram is Richard Dixon official. My Twitter is Richard Dixon 9. And, I also have a podcast as well. If guys want to listen, just interviewing different pros, getting their background story, their path to pro stories, and having them give tips and advice to the next generation of pros. It's Next 90, NEX 90 performance. It's on Spotify, Google Podcasts, so on and so forth. Next 90 podcast. Next 90 performance on Instagram as well. And please, if anybody's listening and need to have a chat, feel free to reach out. I'm always open to have a conversation. I'm always open to share knowledge. I'm always open to share words, man. And so, anytime.
Beautiful.
I think that's one of the best things about you, Richard. I mean, I know like right when I walked into the locker room, you know, in Chattanooga and met you, you're just not only a top pro but a top man and individual as well, and you know, always willing to help people that are around you. So you know, I can't commend you enough for that.
Yeah, man. Of course, like Cody said, you know, it's a very small world that we live in, especially when you know, you play for a long time. When you play long enough, it becomes smaller and smaller. And so the more we can help one another, and the more we can, you know, I think this right here is beautiful, you know, having these conversations and putting it out here for the next generation to listen to, because maybe they don't have to make those mistakes or go through those things, you know, which essentially that's what you want is kind of putting the mistakes out there and putting the experiences so that guys can see a blueprint, so to speak, not the blueprint, but see a blueprint. And yeah, anytime, man, anytime. And I love what you guys are doing. Keep it up.
Rich, thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Of course.
Yeah. Thank you very much, brother. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, fellas. Take care.